Good morning. As promised, here is the first of several short videos on John Donne's poetry, and then we'll move on to that with some of the other early 17th century poets that we're studying in this unit. The first one that we're looking at is The Sun Rising by John Donne. The Sun Rising is an example of an aubade, or a dawn song. This is a traditional theme in European love poetry. It is about the anger or disappointment that lovers feel as the day breaks and they must part. There is an example of this in Romeo and Juliet, where Romeo and Juliet, who speak in love poetry to each other and live out the world of Petrarch, are speaking to each other, and what's her face? Juliet's all like, "That's the lark I hear," and Romeo's like, "No, it's the nightingale, because the nightingale is a bird that sings at night." He's basically like, denial ain't just a river in Egypt. So this is in the same vein. This is saying, why are you bothering us, son? Go away. I'm sure this is an experience many of us have felt, whether or not it's because we will be parted with a lover. Yes, The Sun Rising. Let's listen.
The Sun Rising by John Donne. Busy old fool, unruly sun, why dost thou thus, through windows and through curtains, call on us? Must to thy motions lovers' seasons run? Saucy pedantic wretch, go chide late schoolboys and sour prentices. Go tell court huntsmen that the king will ride. Call country ants to harvest offices. Love, all alike, no season knows, nor clime, nor hours, days, months, which are the rags of time.
The rags of time. Love that. One of the main devices here, obviously up front, is what's called apostrophe. And I know apostrophe, you think of apostrophe, you think of the little chick that you use for a possessive, but apostrophe is the name of a rhetorical or poetic device wherein the speaker talks to either somebody who is dead or absent, or an abstract force, or a force of nature, or a deity. So, for example, in King Lear, when King Lear is out on the heath and saying, "Blow you storms and hurricanes, lightning burn my head," he's talking to the storms and lightning. That is apostrophe, from a Greek word meaning to turn away or to turn off. So whoever you're normally talking to, then you turn and gesture towards the skies or something like that. Oh, ye heavens! So this is an apostrophe, and he's chiding the sun. Why are you? He's telling them, go bother late schoolboys and apprentices and court huntsmen, country ant to harvest offices. And this is one of the places where we see in Donne's love poetry this disconnection or this separation between a public world, a world of public life and public affairs, and a private world of love. He says, "Thy beams so reverend and strong, why shouldst thou think I could eclipse..." Let's listen to this guy here.
Thy beams so reverend and strong, why shouldst thou think I could eclipse and cloud them with a wink?
Sorry, I'll stop that.
But that I would not lose her sight so long. If her eyes have not blinded thine, look, and tomorrow late, tell me whether both the Indias of spice and mine be where thou leftest them, or lie here with me. Ask for those kings whom thou sawest yesterday, and thou shalt hear, all here in one bed lay.
All right, so now we have this thing that John Donne does, where he, while contrasting the public world of huntsmen and schoolboys and apprentices and kings with the private world of him and his lover in their chamber, he also sort of contrasts a kind of objective reality lit by the sun, a world of trade, a world where British ships are now crossing around the Straits of the Cape of Good Hope to get to the Indias to trade. But that is all contrasted to a subjective reality, where he talks about thy beams so reverend and strong, why shouldst thou think I could eclipse and cloud them with a wink? You just close your eyes and it's like, now you're not there, son. Now you're not there. It reminds me of that old Kids in the Hall sketch where they're like, nobody's home. Nobody's home. I can't see you. Nobody's home. If we both do this for a month, we don't have to pay rent. All right. So then that switch from the kind of objective reality of a world lit by the sun to his own private reality where he could just block out the sun by closing his eyes is then links his vision and his eyes to her eyes, where he replaces the sun with her eyes. Her eyes have blinded yours, he says to the sun. Look, and tomorrow late tell me whether India is where you left it, or lie here with me. Ask for those kings whom thou saw'st yesterday, and thou shalt hear all here in one bed lay. The whole world, everything that he values is right here with him and his lover. And this is the theme that he really sort of pushes on in the third and final stanza of this poem.
She's all states and all princes I. Nothing else is. Princes do but play us. Compared to this, all honors mimic, all wealth alchemy.
Okay, a little sidebar on alchemy here. Alchemy was, figuratively, not the real thing. The speculative practice of alchemy involved in search for chemically turning base metals such as iron into highly valuable metals such as gold. A lot of the things that alchemists were doing and trying to figure out ended up resulting in chemistry, in the same way that astrology gave way to astronomy. But there's already, by Donne's period, deep skepticism about the value and effectiveness of alchemy. So in that sense, he's saying that wealth is nonsense. It's a fraud. Thou, son, art half as happy as we.
Age asks ease.
In that the world's contracted thus. Thine age asks
And since
ease.
thy duties be to warm the world, that's done in warming us. Shine here to us, and thou art everywhere. This bed thy center is, these walls thy sphere.
Now, there was this image at the end here where the sun is made the center, and that center is moved into their bedroom, and the walls is the sphere of the sun. John Donne is riffing on a theological idea that goes back to the Middle Ages, wherein God is described as a circle whose circumference is nowhere and whose center is everywhere. A sphere, that is. He's the intelligible sphere. His center is everywhere and his circumference is nowhere. So it's this way of sort of expressing through paradox both the infinity and the completeness and the perfection of God. And Donne here has taken this very intellectualizing image of God and transposed it into the vocabulary and into the purpose of writing a love poem in which the sun is decentered, world politics are decentered, everything is subordinated to the absolute value and worth of love. She's all states and all princes I, nothing else is. And so this is a very ambitious take on the Dawn Song. It does new and different things with it, and it takes it in a direction that is abstract, philosophical, clever, you might even say metaphysical.